So, welcome back. We're ready. Everybody is in their little corner there to have everybody in the right spot. Of course, it is the first episode of Dip In here. And of course, let's first go through our guests in order. Of course, to my right today is going to be Tim Karascast Buda, who is a eSports commentator. He's surely been in Luxembourg for a couple of those events this year. And then next one over is Jinsh Chen. Semi-pro League of Legends player. I think pretty much the whole Luxembourg scene definitely knows him as well. And then moving on is Jerome Labbé. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but game developer. And we'll be ready for that. And hopefully everybody is going to be ready. First of all, we do want to know a little bit more about you guys. So let's start off with Tim. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? What do you want to do in the future? How's it looking?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tyler, for being here. Yeah, first of all, hi again. My name is Tim, aka Karascast. I'm a League of Legends / Clash Royale, Rocket League, all what you want caster, and primarily in German, but with the Luxembourg Post eSports League, I get a little sniff in the English commentary too, and that's one of my beloved things right now. And yeah, the thing I want to do right now, I'm studying. I'm nearly finished with studying, and after study, I want to go fully in the esports scene. I already founded an esports you can't say it company. Tyler, what does Verein mean? You know what I mean? Ancient Stuttgart, what's the name?
They're a organization.
Sports organization. Yeah, organization. Yeah, esports organization. That's the right name. And that's the thing I'm looking forward to do.
Yeah, so definitely sounds cool. We'll hopefully get further into that as well. Let's do much the same for Jinsh.
So thank you for the short introduction. So my name is Jinsh. I've been playing League of Legends professionally, semi-professionally for the past 6 years. Been playing League of Legends for the past 10 years. Currently, I don't have any set plans for myself. Everything is just open up in the air. So right now, I'm just looking at my options. Right now I'm studying. So depending on that will also shape my future regarding to esports and League of Legends. And I'm happy to be here.
All right. I mean, I think if you wouldn't be happy to be here, you definitely wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
on a Friday night. Not like you have too many options to go out on a Friday.
That's true.
At least not during these times. Jerome, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for the invitation. So I'm Jerome. I'm the founder of Carbon Fire Studio. So we have been doing games for Nintendo, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. And recently we started a publishing activity and porting activity. And so recently we released, this year we released 3 games actually, and more are to come for next year.
All right. So, of course, apart from your participation in the talk today, I think we also have you on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. We'll also be a little bit more in depth into the game space there. So, of course, I mean, first of all, we do know that, of course, you guys are into games. 2 of you guys are definitely in towards esports. Jerome, have you had any close connections to esports at all?
Not really, to be honest. That's not really the part I will be more active in this discussion, even though I'm very interested in it. But I'm not really an expert in this field.
Yeah. So, of course, Karas, we know each other personally as well. We've been to a couple of events. We, of course, went to Luxembourg together for both the playoffs and the grand finals of the Post Esports League. But of course, you're also really, really active here locally in our community. And further into that, of course, founding kind of your own esports organization, nothing there is really for profit. It is literally just to try and build a local scene, right?
Yeah, perfectly. Our goal is to, we call it like we're the engines from Stuttgart. So everybody knows, the big cars coming from Stuttgart like Mercedes and Porsche and all that stuff. So that's the name Engine Stuttgart is coming from. And we are focused on building an esports organization for everybody. So everybody can join us. Firstly, we started as a student organization. Right now, we're in an organization for everyone, mainly, of course, students, because esports, 18 years old and all that stuff. We look there a little bit after all the things. things. But our goal is to make esports a well-known thing down here in the Swabian country, as I would say. And yeah, the sad thing is many people don't even know esports right now, and that's our goal. We want to change that, and when we want to make the people know why esports is a legal and a good type of sport.
Yeah, so of course, Jinsh, for you, I mean, you said you've been playing League of Legends for 10 years now. I've been in the esports space as well for quite a while. How did you kind of start into that, and how did it evolve since you've been doing it?
So when I started playing League of Legends, it was obviously just for fun. Like back in the days, you couldn't, like, it's not like you started playing a game and expected to go professional in it, because there was no infrastructure. Esports was very small, like 10 years ago. Nowadays, there are young kids who are like 13, 14, and they start games because they know they can go professional. So that's a big difference. And somewhere around the 4th year, I just managed to hit, so in League of Legends, we have this ranking system, and the highest rank would be Challenger. And in season 4, I just happened to somehow get it. And then once I got it, I got contacted by a Spanish team at that time. And that's when I got my first opportunity to play at a LAN tournament in Madrid. Was a really, really nice experience. And once I got taste of that, I obviously wanted to go more, do more about that. And the following years, I've played probably around more than 20 LAN tournaments. So it's been going well. And yeah, it's been a fun ride so far, I can say.
Yeah, so of course, with the whole kind of esports scene, I think a lot of those times games, especially those esports titles, have a larger focus on providing a good viewing experience as well, getting people into that world. And of course, I think a lot more people these days don't just play the games, but also watch the professional tournaments. Whilst, of course, you've been on stages playing at LANs and things like that, especially since you mentioned Spain. I know that the scene there is absolutely crazy for it. And I've at least been on the German commentary side for a couple of those events where you have a feed from the venue there, and it's a Spanish team up against an international team, and the fans are just going crazy. I think there's certainly regions in the world where they're not as crazy as the Spaniards, the Portuguese, and also the Brazilians, especially. When they're really behind a team, they're almost unstoppable. So yeah, it's definitely been developing towards that way. Jerome, of course, kind of this part is a little bit more focused towards the esports side. Whilst you might not be as involved, have you been following professional tournaments as well?
Yes, actually, I'm a big fan of Rocket League, so I'm playing a lot this game, like nearly every night, and I tend to watch from time to time the pro championships on YouTube and stuff like that. Yes, so but that maybe the only game that catch me that much, at least on the pro scene. Yes.
Yeah, so of course, talking about kind of going to events as a viewer as well. Tim, I know that you've been to a couple of those tournaments as well. I think you went to the World Championships last time out. And yeah, how did that
When we were allowed. When we were allowed to, yeah. Last year I've been to the World Championships finals in France, in Paris, and we got invited from Riot Games directly with our organization from the Engines, and it was kind of cool. It was a very cool experience because you are in this huge stadium and there are thousands of people, and as you remember, we've got a Chinese team against an European team. So many Chinese people over the place and all the European people. And then you got the casters and the commentary live in the stadium, and everybody got a blue trinket. So it was very astonishing, and it was a very nice experience to be there. And that was so the key moment where I knew, okay, esports isn't really a small thing anymore, like 6-7 years ago, where some people played at some LAN parties for about $100 or something like that. Today, esports is a huge business, and I think one of the biggest coming businesses we've got right there out in the market.
Yeah, so of course, with that kind of going forward, let's maybe go to Jinsh. You've said that you're kind of still evaluating your options, seeing what is going to be happening going further. what do you expect to be happening in the esports scene, say in the next 5 years?
I think it's just gonna get bigger and bigger. Like as we have seen this year, for example, the League of Legends championship, which usually takes place with crowd and everything. They've been adapting to the current restrictions we have. So based on that, I think since we have the advantage of being online and it being a game, so it's only gonna get bigger and bigger as the esports companies just adapt to it. So yeah, I think esports definitely has a bright future and it's not gonna go away anytime soon.
Yeah, I doubt it will. I think especially right now all over Europe, a lot more companies entering it, supporting cause like that. And of course, I mean, we see it here at LGX. There's a lot of big brands in behind all of this and saying, well, yeah, it's a cool theme. We do want to support it. And of course, a bunch of the youth is going into it. Talking about kind of organizations and also a little bit of the youth work, I know that over at the Engines, you also try to then cater to young people as well, introduce them, but also maybe to educate the parents to, well, let them know what esports is and what the dangers are of maybe just the players being out there by themselves and just kind of maybe getting into an addiction just for gaming where they think, well, we're going to be pros, but they never actually make it. Have you actually had conversations like that with parents as well?
Yeah, we did. Once a year, there's a big fair in Stuttgart called the Autumn Fair. Yeah, the Messeherbst in German, and that's a place where especially the gaming area is there for the young people, like all the students from the school, like 14, 13, 15 years old, and maybe sometimes much younger. And of course, they're there with the parents, and we often talk to them. The parents were with us. What is this esports? Why do my children always want to play this Fortnite and do crazy dances and all that stuff? And the funny thing is, the most parents don't even know the gaming branch, and that's a big thing I think that has to change in the future, because like a famous caster from Germany, he's called Maxim, is always calling the most important thing is that you as a parent play together with your children. You need to know what they are doing, and then you can know what they're talking about, and you get a better feeling about the branch, and then it's especially more easier to talk to your people, to your children, and maybe to get them less addicted, because I was one of these people being closely to an addiction in my 14th years, and I managed to get out of it, but it is hard, and the parents are the huge thing that needs to support the children, and the first thing is the knowledge of the branch we're talking about.
Yeah, Jerome, I see you nodding. What do you have to add on top of it?
I think, yes, the thing is to demystify what esport is, and to make people understand that it's a real sport with skills. These guys are real athletes, real guys doing a sport. So it's really important that they understand that, and it's really hard. There's a lot of work to do to make this happen, I believe.
Yeah, perfect.
I think especially at that as well, we see it all over the world right now. We do see massive arenas filled all around the world that are full with esports fans. And I think especially when you're following those events, you look into the crowd, and sometimes there is kids there with a couple of older people that seem to be their parents. I know that ESL has been doing it for quite a while now, where they actually sell family tickets as well, or basically say, okay, if you buy a ticket and you bring along, or a kid brings along their parents or their grandparents, then they get a free ticket or a cheaper ticket as well. So I think that's one way also to get the interest up. And of course, mainstream media is all over this. Not sure how it is over in Luxembourg. I know that, of course, with the Post Esports League, I think that was broadcast on the Post TV channel as well, which might not be as mainstream there yet. But I mean, it's certainly out there, and it's becoming more accessible for everybody else. Jinsh, of course, for you as well. I mean, we've kind of gone over your way in towards esports, what you expect it to be in the future. Do you think that whenever you're actually at that point where you'll be building a family, that esports is still going to be around? And if you ever get kids, would you consider maybe putting them into esports?
Well, first, I'll definitely share my experiences. Like if I have kids, I definitely share my experiences I've had on stage and what my experience was during school with my parents as well, because obviously people were slowly noticing that I was into esports because I was maybe like missing for an exam during school or something. And then I couldn't say I'm sick or anything because I was like traveling to another country to play there. And I also had like, obviously I felt during my school time prejudices against this because obviously it's really new. Also, my professors were asking me, what the hell are you even doing? Like, you should focus on your studies. I had my fun times there. But now definitely it feels like it's getting more and more popular. And I think especially this year has just, like what we talked about earlier, parents and kids. I think this year has brought this much more together because you are, like most people are working from home. So they are stuck with the parents or the kids are stuck with their parents. So maybe they've engaged in games and something like that. Parents have more time to learn about what their kids are doing all day, doing on Fortnite or whatever. So definitely, if I have a family, I will definitely not restrict them from anything. Like in that regard, I will definitely tell them about, like I said, about my experiences and also show them what kind of games I played. And also, like in some years, there's gonna be really new games. So by then, I will also just play those new games with my kids.
Can I add something, Tyler?
Yeah. Let's get to that. I know that we have a bunch to still talk about. We'll be right back after this short little break, and then hopefully Tim can remember what he wants to talk about. Let's have that quick little ad break, and then we'll be back. Are we?
I was about to ask.
We're actually going to a break. I think we were supposed to go to a break. So Tim, let's just carry on with your point.
Okay, perfect. I'm still focused, so that's fine. What I wanted to add is when Jinsh and I are going to get children with our wife, then of course,
okay.
not together, of course.
Yeah.
This will be in some years, and even today you can see a change in the growing up situation of children. So the 10, 11 year old children today are much more into the gaming, into the esports, and even into the electronic media than we were in my time 12 years ago. So it's much more common that these people grow up with the theme, and I think they're even much better. So you see all the, as Jinsh mentioned earlier, the young pros are sometimes so much better because they reaction so much faster, and they playing this game since 5 years, even though they're even only 15. Yeah. And that's something that's gonna get bigger, I think. But I think we need to have a closer look on it because it could be a little bit too much, because always if children do something very, very often in a very professional way, there could be some other things in their education and in their growth that could be missing.
Yeah. So let's continue on that after this short little break, this time for real, and then we'll see you guys on the other side of it. So, welcome back then from our short little break. Have to get that time in to run the ads, and then also just talk a little bit behind the scenes. Well, I know that Tim and Jinsh just had a great conversation. They were talking something about their League of Legends team. I have no idea about League or about what the current season is. I'm not sure about you, Jerome.
No, neither. I don't
Too many
know.
seasons. Too many seasons.
Season 11.
Yeah. I don't know.
Right
I think I've maybe played like 1-2 games of League, not much more than that. It's just not my game. If anything, then maybe jump into Dota, but even that I don't really play on the regular.
But Counter-Strike is your game. It's the same thing with me. I have no clue about Counter-Strike, and you're totally in.
I don't know. I mean, like 3,000 hours say I do like Counter-Strike. So let's not talk about that though, and countless hours on broadcast as well. But yeah, Jerome, we've talked about you and Rocket League and the fact that you play it on the side as well. You've also watched a couple of those events already. How is it for you? I actually don't know a whole lot about you. How have you kind of been following esports or gaming, but also then thinking of family and people in your field? What did they think about how it's developing right now, especially the gaming aspect?
You mean my family?
Yeah.
I'm the only gamer in my family. Actually, I have, my wife doesn't play at all. She's really not interested in video games, actually. And my mother neither. And so I'm kind of like the only gamer around here. That said, my daughters, I have two daughters. The bigger one, I started playing games on the V-Smile, the games for the kids. And she's enjoying it, and I really hope she'll be a gamer. I'd be very proud if she become one day a eSport champion. I have no problem with that. Yes, with my stepfather and he often doesn't understand when I get games, and he thinks that I'm playing really kiddie game, and he doesn't understand that an adult like myself could play this kind of game. But I try to explain. I try to explain to them. But I think for the older generation, it's kind of complicated for them to get it.
Yeah. Do you think that there is going to be a time where maybe you can get them to play a game as well, and maybe get them interested in it, or is that already gone?
No, I don't. I think it will never happen. No, no, I don't think so.
Mario Kart.
I think that's definitely something. Same as like I think a Mario Kart or those Wii adventure games that you could like play in like 4-player multiplayer. Those are like the games, same as Monopoly, that can break friendships and families. But sometimes also build them, because of course there's always that one or two people that are really, really competitive about it, even when they're not really into esports as much. About esports, maybe also question for Tim, where do you kind of break the line between what is esports and what is people just gaming?
I knew that question would come, because it's the typical question always on the fair. What's the difference between gaming on a phone and esports? And I'm always about, okay, look, it's quite simple. Gaming is something I do just for fun. Esports is something I do for fun, but also for being one of the best players in the game. So if I want to be an esports champion, I need to be one of the best players in the game. I need to get myself improved. And in the most esports game, like Counter-Strike, like League of Legends, like Rocket League, there's a team standing behind it. So you play as a team, you improve as a team, train different strategies, go with the meta, go with the ghost of the time, I would say, and then you compete against other teams. When I play alone, and I'm just gaming, I chill, play some Ori and the Blind Forest, some chill games, maybe some puzzle games, and just for fun. And that's a big difference. It doesn't mean that esports isn't fun, but it does mean that esports has a different kind of pressure on yourself, because when you game for yourself, you have nothing to lose. If you game for your team, if you play esports for your team, there's sometimes a lot of money standing in the room.
Yeah, so of course, always a difference. What's esports, what's gaming, and where one draws the line. For Jinsh, of course, you said you played like 20 LANs about there or already in the past couple of years. How did that kind of develop from like your first time on stage to like the next time? Is it still, if you now play on a big stage, is it still just as exciting, or have you kind of gotten used to it?
It's always exciting, I would say. And you can't predict if you're going to be nervous or not. That's for my case, for example. I remember, so the very first tournament I played was in Spain. And surprisingly for myself, I wasn't nervous at all. I just felt comfortable, just like at home. It also obviously depends on the setup. Way back in Spain, everything was really well established in the esports scene already, whereas the rest of the European countries were really behind. So there I felt really comfortable. And then after that, my next big LAN would have been the promotion tournament for the European Championship, League Championship, which was in the Riot Games LCS studio in Berlin.
Oh, wow.
So that one was huge. Like the moment you went in, you saw everything was professional. Every team had their own booth. You had your own computers you could train on. And then you had this huge stage. And so one big difference, the biggest difference there was since you want competitive integrity on the stage, they were channeling white noise into your headsets so that you couldn't hear your opponent scream. Even though we didn't have crowd at that point, we obviously still needed that because in case enemy screams information that is crucial, we would have an advantage there. But that was one thing that really irritated me, this white noise, because I've never played with something like that before. And then during the games, I remember this white noise can kind of like bring you into this state where you are like really focused, or maybe like in a meditation state. And it happened to be that I was in like sort of a meditation state in the first game, that I wasn't hearing my teammates. And then I kind of woke up, snapped out of it when my supporter yelled at me that I should start talking and listening. So, and then after that, I had up and downs all the time. So sometimes I wouldn't be nervous at all. It doesn't depend if there's crowd or not. And sometimes I would just be really nervous and I would have to listen to a little bit of music before going on stage, or like while sitting on stage. And it's just different. And also for other professional players that have done way more than I have done, they've also said themselves that it's impossible to not be nervous at all, even if you're experienced. Yeah,
I think especially then within there is also a crowd at a venue that definitely goes on top of it as well. And I think there's been some venues as well that I've seen where there's even sometimes just small stages and people literally all around it on conventions, where sometimes you even have somebody right behind you, and that might also bring you out of focus. So for anybody wondering, well, if you have that white noise on your headset, you guys have in-ears underneath the headsets, right?
No, back then we just had one of those huge headsets that are really expensive from Plantronics, something like that. Yeah. And with those, you didn't have to have in-ears underneath. Also, the in-ears variation I don't like, because after a while your ears start to hurt because of the headset pushing down on them. So like that gear is really expensive. So only like top-notch tournaments probably have them, because 2 years ago, I was playing at Gamescom, and there they had those. And then I was asking about them, and one of them costs about 3,000 euros, I heard.
Wow.
So yeah, they're quite expensive.
Yeah. So always the costs involved, not only the hardware that of course goes on stage, where the tournaments always need the newest monitors and the best PCs out there, because I mean, you see it sometimes on Twitter. I don't know how League is on performance, but I think especially like the FPS players are really, really special in what they want to have on their PCs. I know one player in Germany, he basically cries if his FPS drops below like 300, although he only has like a 240 hertz monitor. Although I think he's upgraded now. It's like one of those new 360 hertz monitors, and he's also upgraded his PC to be top notch, only then to play CS at low settings, to have 800 frames. So that's one way to go about it. How have you kind of experienced that? Of course, League not being the kind of biggest game when it comes down to gulping performance. Do you still keep your system up to date?
I've kept my system up to date pretty much for the sake of keeping it up to date. I remember, so the last upgrade I've done is 2017, and there was no particular reason to do it other than that I had saved up some money, and I just felt like I want to get an upgrade. And because like the PC building part is for anyone who has done it, it's pretty fun in my opinion. And when everything comes together and then finally starts working, that's just awesome. But I've also, regarding to esports tournaments, I've also have participated in maybe 3 or 4 where the hardware was worse than at my house. And not even, that doesn't mean that not only slightly worse, but worse to the point that you aren't able to really play the game, or maybe there were Windows errors. You couldn't plug in your mouse, or your device drivers couldn't be downloaded. Those things I've experienced as well, but those were mostly towards the start of my career.
Yeah, so I think that has definitely developed throughout the years as well. Jerome, where do you do most of your gaming? Is it mostly consoles where you also kind of develop the games for, or is it mostly PC?
I'm not one of the PC master race, unfortunately. I'm playing mainly on consoles. I don't know. It's an old thing, I've been used to play on front of my TV on my crotch. I know you're gonna say you can do the same with a computer. You can wire it to your TV, but I don't know why. I like to put the game in the console and play it on TV. I mainly use my computer for work to develop games. So in my mind, my computer is to work and the console is to play. But I know it's a philosophy, and we all are pretty different in this field, but I'm a console player, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand. That's the main reason why I have a laptop, just because I have the office here where this is here to work. And then whenever I head home and still want to play a game or two, I still have my laptop with me, and that has plenty of power to run any game. So yeah, especially getting that difference between work and gaming or fun, I think is very important as well. Tim, with you, of course, we know that you cast from at home, you play from at home, and right now also studying from at home. How is that going for you?
In my case, I'm kind of lucky because my personal computer was 8 years old, but my organization, we've got some sponsorship from, I don't know, from a big company. And so I right now have a gaming computer from my organization here under my table, but I saved up some money too, because beginning of the next year I need to invest in a good computer for myself, because I do, like you, self-hosting, in my opinion, in my case, from at home. So it's important not only to can render the game, you also need to render the stream and all that stuff, and all to get on one computer. So of course you need a good computer, and studying from home in my case is okay, because I've got a laptop for studying from the bed, and I've got my computer for doing some maybe presentations or something like that. Then I put on my white shirt, sit here, and then I can just talk to the people. So yeah, it's working, but being out there, especially for esports, being at live events, it's much more fun than just playing from at home, in my opinion.
There's a huge difference, but I think at least we in esports, we've had that freedom during this year here. A bunch of, regular sports leagues were cancelled out or, delayed until the point where sufficient infrastructure has kind of been in place just to get everyone tested, to get everyone set and ready. And even there, you can see it hasn't been perfect. Still, cases are going around. Because right now, the only way of us actually getting to a point where you're not running the risk is when you're literally staying at home, staying in your own bubble. And that's why we chose to do the LGX Online this year as well. Should be interesting to see how this is going to continue, of course, as kind of the first vaccines are going to be hitting the market. Let's hope that at least maybe towards the end of the next year, or maybe even towards the start of 2022, we can all get back to events and see each other there. But, I think that we do still have a couple of minutes before we need to head to another break. Kind of sticking towards that esports topic for the moment. Of course, Jerome, we've talked about you watching Rocket League, and from what I've gathered, you only watch the streams on YouTube and Twitch, right?
Yeah,
haven't
exactly.
actually been to a proper event yet.
No, never. I would like to, but I don't have a lot of free time, unfortunately. But that's something I really plan to do when we will be allowed to.
Yeah, so definitely should. Maybe even go to one of the bigger events. I'm not sure how big Rocket League actually is. I know that the league has definitely been getting more investment, and the broadcast value has definitely been going up. But I don't know how big those LAN events are in comparison to Dota, League, and Counter-Strike in that regard. But I think depending on where you're at, I think Luxembourg's and whole of Europe is still going to get more and more events over the next couple of years. Let's jump into a new topic. We've kind of talked about esports for a good while now. Maybe a part where also, Jerome, you could talk a little bit more about. You're a game developer. What games have you worked on?
Yes, so I've worked on very small indie games that I created by myself when I was alone, like in 2015. I started in Luxembourg, actually. It started in a game jam organized by the Technopro in Esch-sur-Alzette. That's where I met, where I did my first game and where I met a graphic designer, and together we decided to make a small game on the Wii U back then. And a little bit later, I was hired by Starbreeze Studio, and I was the office manager of Starbreeze Luxembourg. So I worked on Overkill: The Walking Dead. So it's that game that has been cancelled 2 months after its release, unfortunately. But it was kind of good. I worked on World War II, which has been released on Steam and PlayStation and Xbox back then. And then I came back to my own company more recently last year, Carbon Fire Studio. And then I decided to start porting games. Mobile. So what I'm trying to porting and publishing games. What I'm trying to do is to find some indie games that have not been noticed yet. So usually I look at the mobile market, on even on Steam, and I try to find some good indie games that have not been released on game consoles yet. So I contact the developer. I try to make a deal, and I'm doing the porting myself. So I'm porting the game to Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. And then I'm publishing them, so it means that I'm doing the trailers, I'm uploading the assets to the shops, I'm doing all the marketing. So yeah, we are doing both of this, the porting and the publishing. And so far we have published Lean Pass of Orchard in August this year, and Memoranda in early November this year. And there are 2 more games coming early next year. That I can't reveal yet, unfortunately. Speaking of the 2 games that I've released already, on my talk on Sunday, we are going to do some giveaways with keys for the games for Switch and Xbox. So make sure to come and join on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be there.
Giveaways going on besides LGX right now as well. So already in the break, I talked to you guys, say, okay, our next topic is going to be all about games. And Jinsh, his first question was, have you played Cyberpunk yet? And he pretty much asked everybody here, and all of us kind of said no. We've all kind of been busy with other stuff, or might not have been as interested, especially with still the early bugs going on. Jinsh, I'm going to ask you, have you played it yet?
Yes, I've played it a little bit. I didn't buy it until the day of the release, but I then kind of succumbed to the pressure, to the hype of the game. And I really wanted to stream it so that some friends can experience it with me together. Now I can maybe go into a little bit. So obviously there are many bugs. The game doesn't seem to be quite finished. I would say it feels like it's probably maybe like tops at 80% of what it should be. This definitely has been a case of mismanagement of scheduling and everything inside of the company. So it's a shame. So obviously it's never good to have too high expectations, because for this case, people just had such a high expectation. They expected that this game release would solve world hunger or something. Like, people were so happy about it, so excited about it, that they even canceled, that they even took holidays from work just so they can play this game on release day. And I think this high expectation was just, so obviously CD Projekt Red also failed on the game. They can still fix it. But this high expectation was just, in a way they were doomed to fail due to this high expectation, because you can never, you cannot achieve the expectations that were set by the community game for the game.
Yeah, I think it's difficult on that part, just because, of course, the hype was so big, and maybe it just came down to, well, releasing or even just putting out trailers and teasers before it was even at a stage where you should start to promote it. And I think it didn't just come down to the company saying, okay, well, game not really there just yet where we want it, but let's just put it out. I think it was also just the pressure of the community and the gaming community in general. There was a lot of memes going on what's going to happen first. Are we first going to go through this crisis? Are we first going to say Cyberpunk? And of course, I love the game style. I haven't played it. I don't think I'll be playing it because I don't think I'll buy it. But yeah, I think same as Jerome said in the break that we had, maybe if at some stage it is like really, really cheap on sale somewhere, maybe in 1 or 2 years, that's where I'll start playing it. It's also where I start playing a bunch of games actually as well, just because sometimes you get a cheap bundle where there's like 10, 20 games in there. And you pay like 70, 80 euros, and then you have a bunch of new games to try out. That's generally where I head as well. Tim,
the thing is,
what do you play when you're not playing League?
I'm gonna ask him this answer this in 1 second, because the thing Jinsh described earlier is in development of the last years, I would say, because many companies are only with their money givers on the side. Okay, make the game as fast as possible, put it out. If there's bugs, no problem. We put loot boxes in it like 3 years ago. So I think there's a crucial development that's kind of awkward right now, and I think that we gamers, we took it right now very good, because we told the companies, hey, you can't do this a long time with us, because then we won't buy your games anymore, and that's something good. And I think nobody expected it with Cyberpunk, because CD Projekt Red, the makers of The Witcher 3, one of the best games in the world, nobody expected this from this company. So what do I play if I don't play League of Legends? Right now it's World of Warcraft, because Blizzard is in the same spot as I and Jinsh described earlier. So the company with Activision was very money driven, and many developers left the company, and the company got the clue, and they right now knew, okay, we have to change something. And in my opinion, they did change something, because after 2 or 3 years, Shadowlands is again a good expansion for the game. So Blizzard is like a little bit going back to the roots, and they're focusing more on the things the player wants. So right now there's still some problems in the game, and the game still feels like it's not finished perfectly, but they're coming back. But right now World of Warcraft is one of my main games besides League of Legends.
Jinsh, what is it for you? What's your most played game right now beside League?
So the last days has been Cyberpunk, but I'm just gonna skip that. So so the last weeks, since we're in confinement, I have been on Discord a lot with some friends, and we kind of became so Among Us, obviously that game has been huge. I played it some months ago, but we kind of became variety gamers, such that we were just keep buying Steam sales from games, and then we just kept testing them. One of the games that we got really competitive into is the Speedrunners. I don't know if someone knows that game, but it's just a game where you race each other. And that one has been really fun and competitive. Besides that, so these friends I've talked about, they also play World of Warcraft. So they kind of convinced me to start playing it as well. And especially on Twitter, I've seen that since the Shadowlands release, many of my Twitter followers / Twitter friends have been playing this as well. So so I started playing World of Warcraft as well, not as intensely yet, but I do see the good sides from that game, and it indeed is fun. So some years ago, I would have been scared to play World of Warcraft, because I would be like, because the media has put World of Warcraft, so when it was in its first 5 years, maybe has been putting a bad light on it, such as that only people who are addicted play this game. And then you have this model where you pay each month and everything. But I don't think it's bad, because if you enjoy something and you pay 15 euros for a month or 12 euros, whatever it is, like it's like going out with your friends and boating for one evening, you know? And if you can enjoy many, many hours in a month, then what's the problem with spending money for your enjoyment? Like, that's not a problem at all. And if you enjoy it, then sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's the same part where people pay money for Prime, for Netflix, for HBO, whatever, for all of those subscriptions. Well, you can drop one of them and pay for WoW, or during these times where nobody can go out and party, you can spend that money onto more games as well. Jerome, what is your most played game? What games have you really been enjoying recently?
So the most played games, as I said, is Rocket League, probably because I play every day. Yeah. But the other game I'm playing a lot of indie games. Actually, I love indie games, so I'm always trying to find some very. The last one is Journey of the Broken Circle. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a really, really nice game. Another one was Jenny LeClue. Jenny LeClue is amazing. It's a point-and-click adventure game made with a really tight budget. I don't know how they managed to make this game. It's really awesome. I really advise you to play it. It's on Switch and iPhone. I don't know if it's on Xbox. I don't think so. And I'm playing a lot of Game Pass games. I really love the Game Pass on Xbox because it allows me to discover a lot of games I would have never played otherwise. So like Yakuza, I discovered the Yakuza series from Sega very recently thanks to the Game Pass. I never played it before and I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm playing a lot of games from Game Pass, yeah.
Yeah, so I think with that already, we're kind of... stretching over the time that we had set for us a little bit, but of course, thank you guys for taking the time for being here tonight. Hope you guys will also be watching a lot more of the LGX Online this weekend. I know, Jerome, you'll be back as well, and hope to see you guys at an event soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.